All right, we're live and all set to go.
Okay, this is the March 22nd, 2022 meeting of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Richard Rand, and I'm chairman, and this is an open meeting of the Northborough Zoning Board of Appeals. It's being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of June 16th, 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency. All members of the Zoning Board of Appeals are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The order allows the Zoning Board of Appeals to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to the Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. Okay, we'd just like to affirm which members are here. If you would just answer, I call your name, Mark Rattan.
Here.
Fran Backstrand.
Here.
Paul Tagliaferri.
Here.
Brad Blanchett.
Here.
Jeffrey Leland.
Here.
Okay, and the only member missing is Susie Zwicker. Okay. First item on the agenda is to consider the petition of Stuart Pasakalis on behalf of Sammy's Pizza and Seafood for a variance for the installation of rooftop signs on the property located at 14 East Main Street, map 53, parcel 116 in the Business East zoning district. And do we have our applicant on board yet, Jim?
Dick, it looks like in the audience, the phone number that ends 838 and 994 are the two people, the applicants.
Great. Yep. So I have allowed them to talk. I believe it is *6 to unmute yourself if you are on a cell phone.
Okay. Could the owners of Sammy's Pizza please speak up? Could the applicant for Sammy's Pizza please identify yourself? So,
Jim, is there a command they can give to raise their hand to make sure?
Yes, so it's *9 to raise your hand, and then it's *6 to unmute yourself.
Jim, are both of them online?
So I don't see any names, but as Fran said, there are two familiar phone numbers. I've given them permission to speak, and I've sent the ask to unmute prompt to them, but so far I don't see them being unmuted.
The phone number that ends in 994 is Stuart Pascalis. He's the owner of the property. The phone number that ends in 7838 is the tenant or the restaurant owner. His name is Rahul.
Hello.
There's one.
Oh,
Oh, hello. Hello.
oh, you must be Rahul.
Well, this is Stuart Pascalis.
Hello, Stuart. This is Richard Rand from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and
Yes.
we've just had an introduction that you're the next item on the agenda, and we'd like you to speak and address the board on what you would like to do here tonight.
Yes, Mr. Rand and the Zoning Board of Appeals members. This is a petition for the signs on the side of the building and on parcel 215 116 map 53. I have a statement here from the town of Northborough. When I've owned the building since 1997, and this is from. I have found an old statement stated in 2013 when it was Beezes. I'm sure most of the members of the ZBA remembers that place. In any event, I have a statement from the town that shows the valuation information on this parcel 2115 map 53 with a picture. And on the picture it shows ice cream cones on the roof of the building, a sign that indicates Beezes. So I don't know. I would assume this would be grandfathered. That my tenant who wanted to put a sign on the building indicating it was Sammy's Pizzeria. I do have the tenant here with me.
Okay, and how many signs did he put up?
How many? You got two signs on each side, one on the front and one on the side.
And that's why we remove all other signs from the building.
Exactly.
All right. And did you get a building permit before you put those up?
I spoke to the tenant and he didn't get a building permit on this. He has since, did you get a permit?
No, the sign guy, he said he applied for the permit, and when we went to that department, he said that is roof, but according to that building structure, it doesn't consider as a roof. It is a kind of wall. So that's the thing. He recommended us we need to appeal to the board, so they can only decide what will be the decision.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
No, nothing else, because he said according to the city law, the town only allow me to 32 square feet. So he told me to remove other signs from the windows. So then it will be only 2 signs will be meet that requirement. That means 32 square feet. So I remove all other signs from the window, doors, on the wall, because on the wall there is a big sign kind of around how many 22 square feet. So I remove everything, because he said if you want to keep that too, you need to remove other signs from the building. Otherwise, it will not meet the requirements 32 square feet. So I did, and I show him. He told me it should be all right, but anyway, you need to wait for the zoning board decision.
Okay. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Mr.
Okay.
Rand and
Go ahead. Who's this?
this is the owner of the property. I don't have anything else. The tenant, I'm not sure.
Okay, we're going to ask the building inspector to speak. If you could just stay on the line and listen to the meeting, okay? And if any of the board members have any questions after he speaks, then they'll be asking you questions, okay?
Okay, sir.
Bob, could you enlighten us about what this is about?
Sure. When Sammy's came in, they applied for a permit. The rejection letter is actually in your packet. From over a year ago, they wanted to put these signs up. And when I wrote the rejection letter, those signs were already there. And I explained to them at the time, boy, that feedback's terrible.
Yep.
That the signs needed a variance because those signs are mounted on a roof and not a wall. And I explained at the time that that is a roof and not a wall structure. I also explained that the signs are oversized and that they are also non-permitted and they needed a variance. A year later, I sent another enforcement form, and this got their attention. Okay, you were emailed a copy of the most recent violation notice this afternoon. I apologize for the lateness of that. I know you requested it when you have to deal with an enforcement notice. But basically, it explains that, the sign has been up for over a year. They've done nothing to correct for it. They have not applied for any new sign permits. Okay, so those signs went up without permits, and they were also wired without any wiring permits. Okay, so right now we could deem it as an unsafe structure because, wiring and everything else. We also asked the owners and the tenants to remove the excess signage, as that all counts towards the square footage and the number of signs. They removed most of them. I did allow one menu sign to be attached to the side of the building because people walk up to an order window and place their orders. So I thought a menu ordering sign would be appropriate at that spot. But they have cleaned up some of the other signs around the picnic area. But this violation has gone on for over a year now in terms of those two signs, and they've had lots of opportunities to correct for it. And the first time I sent the order out, we were ignored.
Okay, thank you. I'll open up to the board. Any questions or comments? Yeah, Fran?
Chair. All right, so I do have a question because the freestanding sign is not at issue, Bob. That one, because okay, I'll let you answer that. Go ahead. Sorry.
The freestanding sign was also installed without a permit, and that is not subject to as rigorous zoning enforcements as the two roof signs that were installed. The sign itself, the freestanding sign, is kind of a separate category in the Business East zoning section in terms of sign requirements. So, it's allowed to stay there. I am working with the client, the customer, to try to get the permit issued for that. As it stands right now, the new insert that was installed is not correct because it does not display the numerical address of either West Main Street, or East Main Street for that matter.
And a follow-up, Mr. Chair, can you, because I could not follow the applicant with his understanding that because of the style of the roof, that's not considered a roof, it's considered a wall. So it has to meet wall criteria, or? Thank you.
As I explained to the applicants tonight, a roof is a structure that protects something under it from the weather elements. And this is a mansard roof. It's not considered to be a wall. A wall would be typically a virtually vertical surface. And if you look at the particular pictures in here, the roof, or the red portion of the building, if you will, protects people underneath it. It protects the windows that are under it. So this particular piece, although it looks like a wall or it looks like a parapet, does in fact shed weather from items and people under it. So it's defined as a roof.
Okay, thank you. So just one follow-up. So as a roof sign, it does have, if everything was in a perfect world, they would still need a variance to have a roof sign.
Yes, roof signs are not allowed in Northborough. So if they were to utilize that area, they would have to get a variance.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Paul?
I think Susie had her hand up first, but
Okay, Susie?
I'll go after.
Thank you, Paul. Sorry I was late, everyone. I had to, my husband couldn't pick up our kids, so I raced home and safely, and I'm here. I had a couple of questions. Bob, they've been in violation for a year. Have we issued any fines to them, or they're just in violation?
They're currently in violation. To my, I'll take the blame. I have not issued any fines. I've tried to contact them a couple of times, and they need to get this straightened out, and they never did. This is not an excuse, but we're swamped over here in building and zoning. And we just can't get to everything on a very timely basis. That's just the reality. But, you know, I have tried to reach out to them several times, either by email or phone, or even stopping in when we did the annual inspections for the common vic renewal license. And we said, you really need to figure out the sign situation. And it never really had any traction until this January.
So is that something that will issue after, even if they fix it for that year that they were in violation and knew it?
I don't think it would do any good. It's up to you folks to decide whether or not to give them the variance to put the sign up or actually leave it up. It's still up. And writing a fine at $300 a day for 300 days. That's a lot of math.
I mean, maybe places would fix their signs sooner if they knew that we would issue fines. But I had another question. So how many signs that are on the property are not in violation of something right now? I drove by today and I know that they've taken down the ones on the fence. I saw a flaggy one, like a flag. I don't know which menu you're talking about, because they might have a menu on the side and the front.
I told them I told them one sign where the order windows are, which are, as you're facing the building, it's on the left side. Okay, that's where the menu sign is. That's where the order windows are.
Yeah.
The other signs around the little fenced-in area have been taken out. I haven't been by today to see if anything new has gone up. There were some, signs that are probably 18 inches by 6 inches tall. They're kind of stuck in the windows and they say, subs and pizza and stuff like that. And, that's up for debate. I really think that's part of the sign calculation and the sign square footage. So it's, they still continue to have some violations out there. But the big one is the ones on the roof.
So, okay. So probably none of the signs except for one of the menus is okay right now?
Currently.
You think, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're working on the freestanding, which is that's a whole other thing. Okay.
Right. I mean, it's in the grand scheme of things, it's minor compared to this particular situation. It needs a building permit and it needs the numbers on the top of the sign.
Okay.
Hey, thanks, Susie. Paul?
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. So I guess my question to start is the applicant requesting a variance, or are they appealing Bob's interpretation of the ruling? And I don't know if that's for Bob or the applicant to answer.
I would say, and we've kind of gone down this road before, if I've written an order to correct and they appeal it, my take is that if an appeal is granted to the petitioner, then that kind of de facto allows the situation to stay. I mean,
right.
I'm not an attorney, but that's how I see it.
Right. So then I guess my question for the applicant is this an appeal, or are you requesting a variance to put the signs on your building? Through the chair.
The application shows that it's a variance request and an appeal request. Both boxes are checked. Anything else, Paul?
Well, I guess, whether or not it's an appeal or a variance, right, is important for us to determine exactly what it is they're asking for, right? If it's an appeal of Bob's determination, right, of all of these signs are incorrectly placed and everything that Bob had, specifically laid out in his letter and previously, then they're looking to obviously keep everything that's currently there, right? And then if it's a variance, right, I would, as a board member, I would like to see some specifics around exactly what is the variance that they are looking for us to approve, right? In terms of context, in terms of what specific bylaws that they are looking for us to approve, to give us the proper format and structure around how we're going to, proceed in making a decision.
I would suggest that they are going for an appeal because of this statement. In the earlier sections of the zoning bylaws under the Zoning Board of Appeals, I think it's subsection number 4, in terms of duties of the ZBA, is to hear about appeals from individuals who have been served or have given an order from a municipal enforcing agent in town. That's what I serve them, which is an enforcement order. And I think under that particular section of the zoning bylaws, you folks need to hear the appeal and not hear an application for a variance.
Okay. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? Mark?
Yeah. Bob, do you know if the electrical work on these signs was ever inspected? I mean, did they replace existing signage that was inspected, or are we dealing with totally random electrical work here?
Our database shows no application for a wiring permit for the signs, and therefore no inspections of the signs. I have not been informed officially of who the sign contractor is, but I have a pretty good idea of who it is. As the owner is responsible for his own property, I've decided to issue this particular enforcement order to the property owner. I'm in contact with the wiring inspector in town to see if he wants to pursue any kind of formal actions against the electrician who failed to pull a permit.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bob. Anyone else? Fran?
So, I mean, to piggyback on Paul, I think that we can't even look at one without addressing the other first. And Bob has indicated that he is in violation of several zoning bylaws. And so we can't even entertain the idea of whether a variance should be granted if we can't even be sure that he's going to address the issues of the appeal. So I think that I would think we would have to almost like vote on the appeal of Bob's interpretation before we could even entertain a variance, I would think.
I would think so too. Anyone else? Brett?
Mr. Chair, yes. So what we're talking, I agree wholeheartedly with what Fran had just mentioned. I think it's two separate issues. And just to be clear, they're not asking for any additional signage. It's kind of, they're asking for forgiveness of what they've already put there and hoping that we can remedy the situation. Is that correct? Bob, okay, yeah, I see you nodding your head, okay. And I have a question for the applicant. The fact that the applicant, you have been in violation for over a year. Can you please explain why you ignored the building inspector and our bylaws for so long, and now you're coming to us asking for forgiveness?
So I did end up muting the applicant because of the feedback. So they may just want to unmute themselves at this point.
Stuart, could you unmute yourself? Hello, Stuart.
Again, on the phone, it's *6 to unmute yourself.
All right, he's unmuted. Stuart. Hello, the applicant from Sammy's Pizza. Would you please speak?
Hello, sir.
Hello?
Actually, if you notice the applicant's name, it says Rahul. Actually, Rahul is the one who put the sign, and he sold the business to me in July. So I'm the one who's Rajiv, and my English is not that good, but so far my understanding is Mr. Bob, he said that I didn't contact with him, but as soon as I got the letter, immediately I contact with him, and I just take all the sign out from the picnic area, and I can show you the previous photos, which was on the wall. It's close to 20 square feet, the sign, which is the different kinds of food image. And I just removed everything because I just want that two things, because he cost me $5,500 for that sign. And he already ripped me a lot. So after that, due to the COVID, business also affected a lot. So, but however, I talked to that guy who put the sign too. Like, did you apply to the city for that permit when Rahul asked you to install the sign? He said, yes, I did, but he rejected. The city rejected. But I talked to Mr. Bob and I said, how to resolve this situation, because it's been made by Rahul and the electrician or sign guy, whatever. But I just took over the place in July, and after that, I try to try my best to communicate with him and Mr. My landlord. He's also helping me a lot to process this situation. But right now, I just remove everything. I can show you the old photos, what was on the building and what right now standing. It's not mean that I don't respect the city law. Whatever Mr. Bob give me the direction, I try to listen to him. Maybe sometime my English is not good. Maybe I couldn't understand him. But the general things, so far I understand, he told me to remove all the signs from the picnic areas. I removed them. On the left side wall, that is also I remove all of these things. And second thing, which one he accused to me, we put the sign on the roof. I don't know, how come how many angle of that, 25 or 30? That's the thing. That's basically not the proper roof. How we have a roof, if physically the engineer go and they investigate, they can check everything. That's a 25 degree slope thing. How it could be a roof. The roof is the top one, which is the flat one. So this is not a flat one. That's 25 degree slope. Any engineer can go and investigate it. If they say no, that is part of roof. It could say part of roof, but that's not a roof. But I don't want to challenge with him because I don't want to dare to do that. I respect the town law. I'm a very small businessman, but I already raped by my partner because Rahul, he's the one who just stolen the money and he left, who didn't follow the rule. But he used my social security. I used to work for Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center as a certified pharmacy technician. So when I saw that, he did a lot of, things, which one he is not following the country's law and regulation. So I just took over my place and I just fixed it a lot of things. And then one day I got a letter from the town, that incident was happened. So I tried to, communicate with him. I tried to, resolve the problem. I contact with that sign guy too. I said, without the city permission, how do you put the sign over there? Whatever I will ask you and pay you, you cannot do until you get the city permission. He said, I applied for the city permission, but I was wait for that. And sometimes he says they refuse. And then I try to communicate with Mr. Bob as then how can we resolve it? Because I just want to, okay, if town decides to, that's okay for me, it's fine. If the town decides, no, it is against the town law, then whatever town will decide, I respect this board decision. So right now, sir, I really need everybody's cooperation to run that business because the business is already very slow right now, and we cannot survive. I pay 6-7 people, so who are dependent on me. So in this situation, I need to more focus on the business rather than do all this hassle. So whatever the town and your board will decide, I respect your decision, and I'll just follow the direction. So just now depend everything up to the total board. So whatever you tell me, I'll just listen to that and I'll just follow the direction.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Any other questions, comments?
Chair,
Randy?
now I'm confused now because the gentleman just said he just bought this business in July and that the Raul is the person who put in the sign. So I just wanted to, maybe if we get clarification as to the timeline of some of that.
Application sign is my sign. But madam, when I submitted the application, that is my sign. I submitted everything like that. The legal permit, I applied for that. None of them by Raul. If they put the Raul name, that is their mistake. So because whenever I went to the city, in the town hall, I went with the landlord and I fill out the application. Mr. Bob, he gave me the application form. I fill out there and I sign and I hand over to him. So I don't know where the Raul name came from because Raul is left the business on July. Even if you check with the state, he's out of the what is called the license and permits. He's not here anymore because last time also I renew all the permits and that's my sign and my name. But it's still in a record. If they put Raul name, that is a mistake. That should not be. Even the corporation name, if you check with the state, Raul from July, his name is not there anymore. Because he sold the business and he left.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Paul, go ahead.
I guess just following up on Fran's question, I mean, the name of the petition, well, there is no name of the petitioner on this, but the email is raul.rajibinc@gmail.com. Is the petitioner
You're right.
on the
That's
call?
our corporation email address, which is like a mutual. Raul and me, we used to use it. So everywhere there is the email address. So I do have access to use that one because I told him he was my partner and I was the sleeping partner because I used to work for Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. But he's the one who ran the business. But he sold the business on July because all this mismanagement and a lot of issues in a business, something the accounting too. So I had to take over my place because my social security is involved in this business. So I am the one who is accountable or liable for all this incidents. So I had to take over the place and he took his money and he left. But then when I took over and I just run the business, I find all this mismanagement or violations and everything. But as soon as I got the letter from the town, I immediately contacted Mr. Bob and if I'm not wrong, last 3 months or 4 months, Mr. Pascal, you and me, we are talking to Mr. Bob about resolving this thing. Yeah. So I'm trying at my best. And even sir, I told you, I have all the evidence. I can show you. When Raul left me, I have all the photos. How was the sign? And I can show you how the last 4 months. It's not that Mr. Bob told me and I ignored or I didn't care about the city's decision and his direction. I follow each and everything. I remove all the signs from the picnic areas. I remove everything from the wall. Only one thing, the menu, that is maybe approximately 6-7 square feet. And only 2 signs they are still open over there because it's not that easy to remove them. I thought, okay, why not try with the city? To apply to the town board of members. They will decide whatever their decision is. But it's not that easy to remove that one. I need to call that sign guy again, and I need to talk to him. And it's also a lot of money too. Raul, when he sold the business, he also charged me $5,500 for the sign. So that's if I cannot keep that one, it will be affect. I will be also lose that money, and it will be also affect to my business because it is very small business, and that place I cannot survive if the business is not busy because the 5 or 6 people they are working there who are I'm helping the community and I'm helping that people too. So So that's not easy decision to immediately he told me and I remove everything. I removed
Right.
all other things, but only 2 things I think, okay, I will wait for the Board of
All right,
Members
thank you.
decision.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Paul, you-
Thank you so much.
Paul, you have another question?
Yeah, I just have one more follow-up for Bob. So the electrical was, no permit was pulled for the electrical for both of the Sammy signs, the one facing south and then the one, is there another one facing west? Or
Yes.
is that, okay, so regardless of whatever happens, he still needs to have someone pull a permit and get his stuff up to speed.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
As it stands right now, the electrical is not up to code.
It has not been inspected, so it cannot be deemed safe.
Okay, thank you.
As a kind of a response to the statements the gentleman just made. When we send an enforcement letter, we send it to the owner of the property and the tenant, because the owner of the property is, according to the zoning code, ultimately responsible for what goes on in this property. Okay. Regardless of who owns the tenantship or who owns the business within that property. So that's why Mr. Paxalis got a copy of the enforcement as well. He was the primary recipient of the order. In terms of, the gentleman stating that he's going to pay money to have the sign removed, with all due respect, that's a problem for the sign contractor. He did the work without a permit, and he's liable for the physical installation of the sign. I mean, I don't know what damage he did to the structure of the roof. I don't know if the wiring is safe, because it was not permitted and it was not, neither one was inspected.
Bob, can you give us a date that when the owner was first notified of this violation?
First notice of the violation. Hang on, I have to look it up. Don't go away. January 13th, 2021.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other
Not
questions?
2022, 2021.
And Mr. Chair, can you just ask Bob, can you confirm, was that to the property owner as well as the one business partner named Rahul?
For the current letter that went out?
No, the January of 2021.
Okay, the January 2021 went to Mr. Paxalis, and the email copy went to rahul.rajibinc@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the audience? Jim, can you let us know? Hello.
Oh, sorry, there is a hand raised. Lisa, I'm going to allow you to talk.
Hi, thank you, Jim. Thank you, ZBA. Lisa Maselli, 13 Maple Street.
Okay.
I mean, it's certainly difficult to understand all the discussion coming up. There's a couple things I want to address. The sign that they speak of that was on the roof with Beezers when it's on the assessor's map, those look like they're a banner and a cutout. It's not like a sign that Sammy's is on. It wasn't lit. It wasn't three-dimensional. It just looks like a banner or a cutout. So I can't see that could be the reason for being able to put up a three-dimensional interlit sign on 2 sides of the roof. And I'm concerned about a few things here because, the whole thing about ignoring bylaws, no matter, it's the owner of the property that should be responsible, I would assume. And I mean, the hardship part from a legal perspective, where sympathy is really the appropriate basis for granting a variance. I mean, if you don't follow the bylaws and why do we have them? because they're not important, and are we setting a precedent, and are there unintended consequences by doing so? I can understand where we have businesses and people are having a difficult time, certainly, but does that mean that you don't have to follow the bylaws? I guess that would be my statement at this point.
All right, thank you. Jim, anyone else?
No, not at this time. And if you're on a phone, you can use *9 to raise your hand. There is one more hand raised. It's a phone number. I am allowing you to talk. You can *6 to unmute yourself. And if you just state your name and address for the record, please.
Hello. Hi.
Hello, can you state your name?
Hi,
and
I'm Shannon Cooley. Thank you all for your time tonight. Can I be heard? Yes?
Yes, you can speak. Go ahead.
Okay. So I definitely have some concerns with the previous resident who just made her concerns about variances and following them and bylaws. They are there for a reason. We all have to follow them. We all have to pay taxes. There's a reason for order, and those must be completely and absolutely followed. So my biggest concern right off the bat is that there's 3 signs, 3, that are not approved by the town. They're illegal. My second main concern now, as a resident that lives in this part of town, is that they are not and have been not inspected by a proper electrician, which deems that property completely unsafe. Now you have residents that are on 3 sides of that building and very successful businesses and residents on the other side of the street. And if there was a fire, what would happen? On a windy day like today, where it is dry. That is unacceptable and unsafe.
Okay, thank you.
In addition, I am not done. The signs that are up are lit all night long, and they are not electrically safe. So if they start fires in the middle of the night on a windy, dry day, you have a house directly behind the restaurant. You have a complex directly across the street. You have another house directly across the street. It is unacceptable. Laws need to be applied and followed. I am a huge supporter of small businesses and the effect that this pandemic has had on small businesses, but there are rules and laws and variances to follow, especially when you're in a residential neighborhood. It's a must. Something needs to be done. In addition to the Sammy's neon light signs that are on all night long, that are not deemed electrically safe, sometimes there's flashing colored Christmas lights lit up. So unless we want half of East Main Street set on fire because of a random act of electrical dysfunction, I'm pretty sure something really needs to be done about this.
Okay, that's what this hearing is about. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, no, one more thing. There is also another sign that is on the side of a dumpster that is advertising a mobile mini. That's a big sign going right down East Main Street. So we advertising now mobile mini storage units. I'm just concerned about that. And realize that now that's.
Is that on this property or is it someone else's property?
Oh, no, that's on Sammy's property. They have a dumpster with a big sign that says mobile mini.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
In addition to that, no, please, can I finish? Thank you. I appreciate all your time tonight, but there's a few things that the residents here do want to say. There's also a dumpster that gets full of trash and blows all over the street. So if there is a fire, how is that going to be deemed safe? I feel like that is another issue that needs to be addressed. That dumpster, I feel, should be fenced in. Because most variances in a residential neighborhood, especially with a dumpster, should be fenced in.
And this,
Because
that's not
all
an
the other
issue.
businesses,
That's not an
Pardon?
issue for this board. The dumpster
I
isn't.
understand, but now
Variance.
the concern for me is the fire that you've just said on record. Is this building across the street in this whole neighborhood of businesses, residents, is deemed electrically unsafe. So tonight, the whole building could light on fire because they leave their signs on all night long. So if that catches on fire on a night like tonight or last night, and those winds pick up, what do you think the ramifications will be of that?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yep, I appreciate small businesses, but you want everybody to pay taxes and everybody to follow rules. The business needs to follow the rules. And the town needs to do what needs to happen to keep the residents and the businesses.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you very much. Any other calls? Jim?
Dick, sorry, this is Fran again. For the minutes, Ms. Cooley did not give her address as a Northborough resident, so that Michelle can have it for the record.
And she's hung up. Okay. Anyone else have anything to say?
I believe the applicant has their hand raised. I don't know if you're taking additional comment at this time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I believe they just lowered it, but they still have permission to talk, so you can *6 to unmute yourself if you have additional comments.
Hello, sir.
Stuart, is that you?
Actually, I listened to her, but that's a solar system. So that's basically daytime is off and nighttime is on. And our store is fully secured by, she said, if middle of the night, if the light is the whole night, the light is on, if any fire issues, who will be notified and how do we know? The whole store is fully secured by beacon protection. So any kinds of short circuit, any kinds of fire issues, or any kinds of theft, so automatically is notified to the fire departments and the police station. So that is safe. But second thing, so far from July till now, it never happened about the trash. But when I took over the place, I got a couple of complaints from her. My previous owner, the previous partner, Rahul, when he was here, couple of times it happened like that. But we have also complained, sometimes when people, my neighbors, sometimes they dump their trash in our dumpster because we have a huge dumpster. But maybe sometimes they have a small garbage can at home, so they don't have enough.
The trash isn't the issue tonight. The signs are, okay?
So yeah, that's the note. I just want to make everything clear. So sometimes people also dump their trash in our dumpster, but we never complain to anybody because we know it's we cannot prevent it. Maybe one or two people that do it, but we just ignore these things. So because I know we need to do the business in that neighborhood, so I can not make them mad or feel it bad. So I never complain about who dumps their trash in our dumpster. But you're right. So that's not a big deal. Right now we are talking about the sign thing. So that's the one. The sign thing, the whole night the reason it's on because that's solar system. In the daytime they're off, and the nighttime they're automatically on. But I will go to the store today and I try to find out manually we can turn it off at 9 o'clock because we close at 9. So we try to manually turn it off the sign.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anyone else have any comments Questions? Nope, seeing none. Mark,
Mr. Chairman, I move that we close the hearing.
Second,
okay, Mark made the motion, Fran seconded it. All those in favor of closing the hearing? Mark,
Aye.
Fran,
aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Brad? Myself, aye. Brad, you are muted.
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Okay, the hearing is closed. Okay, why don't we discuss and make a decision on this right now? Being the only thing on the agenda.
Mhm.
Paul?
I guess I'll go first. So I guess if we're looking at this as an appeal of Bob's interpretation, I'll start with the first thing is in terms of the grandfathering. I've seen no evidence whatsoever that, these signs are appropriately grandfathered at all. Obviously the work has been done recently, so any sort of connection to what was previously there, I have not seen any evidence of. These signs are not inspected, not permitted, not allowed on the roof, over the allowed square footage. I would consider these things to be sort of egregious violations of the sign bylaws from top to bottom. And I think speaking specifically in terms of an appeal of Bob's interpretation, as he detailed in his letter, I would have to uphold his appeal or his interpretation. Sorry. I flipped the wording there. My bad.
Anyone else?
Okay. That would be me.
Fran?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't see any reason why we would not uphold Bob's interpretation of the zoning bylaws and the infractions that he laid out in his letter. The fact that this gentleman somehow had a partner breakup in July and is now fully responsible is unfortunate, but the property owner himself has been notified for over a year, and he could have taken action to try to assist his tenant. I will say, just on a side note, the Beezer's freestanding sign never had an address on it. I don't know whether that's a new rule or not, but I mean, that's just a sidebar. But yeah, I mean, it needs to be brought up to code. Well, I mean, it needs to be enforced. I would also recommend that the enforcement of the fines begin the date of the letter. I would not go back a year, but if we have the authority to start the clock on the fines, that we should, because it is a serious infraction. And again, the property owner knew for over a year.
Yeah, thanks, Fran. Anyone else?
Susie has her hand up.
Susie, go ahead.
Thank you, Brad. I agree with Paul and Fran as well. And I like Fran's idea. I do believe that a fine should be given out because it's been so long. And anybody that is watching this, it doesn't set very good precedent, because then they'll be like, oh, I'll just put signs everywhere. Like, what is Northborough going to do? After hearing the last caller, Ms. Cooley, I am wondering too, maybe, is there a way we can have them turn the signs off that they have up right now, since they haven't been inspected? I know they're going to try turning them off at 9, but the fact that they haven't been inspected and they might not be up to code, she did put it in perspective as being a resident that lives nearby. And also, I mean, I know that I've been on the board the least amount of time out of all of you, but we have had several hearings on different signs. And I feel like, we're always like, oh, well, it's this much bigger. And, we put so much thought into, how the signs look on the buildings and everything. And we really are trying to make Northborough look better. So I think this gross variance from the rule, if I could vote tonight, I would support Bob, basically.
Okay,
Thank you.
Paul, Mark?
I guess to pile on, I do think that, yeah, this sign should not be permitted to be on till 9 o'clock and they go home. I don't know, Bob, if you can do electrical work, but I mean, can you go over there and at least pull the plug and make sure this sign is safe and is off full time as far as the roof signs, because this is unsafe. And I do have a lot of sympathy for the people on the street saying, yeah, they're right. If on a windy day, this could burn down several houses. You know, the only other alternative is to just shut down the business outright until something's done. But at the very least, can we have these roof signs disconnected?
Bob.
Just as a matter of technical information, as a building inspector, I'm not a wiring inspector, so legally I'm not allowed to touch anything electrical. However, I can get in touch with our wiring inspector and we can follow his recommendation. Either the owner can get an electrician in there and either shut the breaker off or take the breaker or the circuit out, or we could order the light to be permanently disabled until a new permit has been issued at the fine of $300 a day, which would be a new and separate violation. And the third thing is, if the owner refuses to comply with any of that, the town, I believe, does have the ability to send in an electrician, do the appropriate safety work on behalf of the owner, and charge the owner for the service.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Brad?
Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to bring up first is the fact that the lights are on overnight, which is another violation of our town bylaws. So first things first, at a minimum, they should be turned off at 9 o'clock. The fact that the wiring hasn't been inspected is extremely alarming, especially with a bunch of residential homes around that area. And I just think that they just completely disregarded our bylaws, and I want them to be fined to the fullest extent of the law or our bylaws. And if they don't comply within a certain period, then we should shut them down. I mean, this is just, it's not a safe dwelling at this point. And it's so close to residential neighborhoods or residential homes. So, I mean, at a minimum, we have to do something. And again, I echo what Fran and everyone else on the board has said, as far as agreeing or upholding our building inspector's interpretation for this project.
All right, thanks, Brad. Your motion?
I just want to circle back around. So, I mean, if we make a motion on the appeal, there's still the variance. And I mean, should he get everything all straightened up and fixed correctly, and then moving forward, want to request a variance for properly installed, properly lit signage, would we make a motion separately on that? Or does that by default go away when we make a motion on the appeal?
Well, my read of this is the variance application is before us as well as the appeal, but we should hear the appeal first, make a decision on that. And then we should make a decision on the variance, whether we give it to him or not. And he can either withdraw his application for the variance, or he could wait 2 years and put it for another one. So those are his alternatives.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's perfect. All right. Then
Yeah,
I would
makes
make,
sense.
if you'd like, Mr. Chair, I will make the motion. And as we normally do, it will be in the affirmative for the vote. So I move that we approve the appeal of the building inspector's interpretation of the zoning bylaws for 14 East Main Street as made by the applicant, Stuart Padalascales, on behalf of Sammy's Pizza at 14 East Main Street.
Second.
Okay, Fran made the motion, Brad seconded it.
Sorry,
Bob has a
Mr. Chair, Bob has his hand up.
Yes. Bob?
Thank you. I just have one technical question. I get the the tenor of the board wants fines issued. In order to do that, I'm going to have to consult with town council, and I'm going to ask him to examine the order of the violation order, and I will allow him to tell me what would be an appropriate date to start. Fran mentioned something about the earliest available date based upon the new violation notice. There's a certain amount of time that I believe I gave him to respond. And I want to be able to make sure that the fines are given out correctly. So I'm going to defer to the town council for that. The other thing, if we're going to fine, we should probably think about, you know, the requirement is he's going to have to remove the signs, repair the roof, take the electrical work out, and make it safe all the way back to the wiring panel. I would suggest giving the owner a timeline to comply with that. 5 days, 10 days, whatever. And the fines would continue until that work has been accomplished. That the signs have been taken out, the roof has been repaired, and the wiring taken back to the breaker panel.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay,
Bob.
well, the enforcement letter does state that the failure to do so within 7 days of the receipt of this letter will result in fines. So I think we're covered, but yeah, I mean, we can make another motion after this one as well.
Sorry, Mr. Chair, like, I guess we're not really deciding on fines, right? We're just deciding strictly on the appeal, right? Obviously, we're just a zoning board of appeals. Bob is the enforcement officer. Obviously, we all have said our piece on how our feelings are about this case and, you know, the severity of what we think. But ultimately, what fines and the remedy, or I'm sorry, the fines is not really within our purview. It's whether or not the appeal is upheld or denied, right? And then in terms of, you know, to Bob's last point about, you know, like how long for the remedy, is that when, I guess, when the decision is signed? Or is it from this vote, right? You talked about 5 days. Because if I would say that if it's when the decision is written up, signed, which obviously we all know could take a week or two, right? I would say you would have 0 days because you've had 18 months or whatever it is from the decision date.
I think our job here is to answer whether or not we agree with the appeal or do not agree with the appeal. All right, and it's up to Bob to make the decisions about fines, when they are levied. Him and town council, that's their job collectively to make those decisions. And I don't think it's any in the purview of this board to set fines or when they start, when they end, or anything like that. Bob's job is to do the enforcement.
That's fair.
I must apologize. It wasn't my intent to ask you folks, you know, about the fines. I just wanted to make you aware of the timing. And you know, I've got to make sure that the due process for the town is okay with the legal department before I start sending out these monetary fines. I just wanted to make that clear.
Thanks, Bob. And we can expedite the signing of this decision. I mean, we can prevail on Laurie and a new town planner and Michelle to see if we can get that done as quickly as possible so that we can get it signed and get it to the clerk's office. Okay. Fran, you had a hand up?
No.
Mr. Chair.
Brad?
Yeah, so I understand the fines are not within our purview. As far as the signs being lit at night, is that something that we can put in this decision that they have to be at a minimum? I mean, they're within violation. I mean, we could maybe shut them down full time, but at a minimum, they should be shut down when they close overnight. Is that within our purview?
I think the bylaw for signs says they have to be shut down from midnight to 7 a.m. So, I mean, they'd have to be shut off at midnight, and somebody'd have to see them on that can do the enforcement part to enforce that. Right? But that's another issue. I mean, it's not what we're hearing tonight, as I understand it. Bob?
Yeah, that doesn't come under the purview of the board. It comes under, in my wheelhouse. Essentially, what I'm going to have to do is give them both verbal and written notice to, number one, disable the sign immediately. Do not use it which means no power to it, and shut it off. So that'll also be part of the requirement to remove the sign.
Okay,
Okay,
sounds good.
so we have a motion in place before the board, and it's in the affirmative to approve the appeal. So now we'll take a vote. Fran?
No,
Second, a second.
Brad had already seconded.
I already seconded there,
Oh,
pal.
sorry.
Calm down.
When I get one on
Alright.
board.
So Mark,
No.
Paul,
No.
Brad,
No.
and my answer is no also. So it's unanimous. The appeal is denied. Okay, now we'll vote on the variance motion. And any comments on that? Mark?
oh, good.
I move that we grant a variance for the two signs currently on the building at, what's the 14 East Main Street?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Second,
Okay, Mark made the motion, Fran seconded it. Any discussion? Okay, not seeing anything. Take a vote. Mark,
No.
Fran,
no,
Brad,
No.
Paul,
No.
and my vote is no. So it's unanimous. The variance is denied. Okay. Yeah, that concludes this hearing on 14 East Main Street. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the discussion of the planning board's proposed zoning bylaw amendments for the 2022 annual town meeting. Right. It was sent out yesterday, the latest and greatest version of these. It's the planning board has sent along. And I wanted to ask the board if we want to take a vote on these, each zoning article, and make, that decision known to the town meeting, or whether we just want to discuss it and let it go with that. Any comments on that? Fran? Fran, you muted.
oh, sorry. I have personal opinions on some of them, but from a zoning board of appeal standpoint, I do think that we should voice, we should take a vote on the one warrant article that is removing the use variance authority from the zoning board of appeals, because that is directly related to the work that we do and the integrity of that work. The others, I think, we can discuss it as whether we think they make sense or have questions, but those questions can come up by individuals at the public hearing as well as town meeting. But I don't know. I'm happy to discuss them. I find it fascinating.
Okay, anyone else? Paul?
I mean, I guess I probably stated this opinion somewhat last year as well. I guess generally speaking, I'm against the zoning board of appeals having any sort of vote as a board in regards to any bylaw that the planning board puts forth. I think that is, obviously I have personal opinions about the bylaws that are being presented, just as I had personal opinions about bylaws last year and the year before. And I express them as I do every year by going to town meeting and raising my hand to vote yes or no. I think the zoning board of appeals should stay out of providing their opinion, because essentially what we're doing is providing our own personal opinion about these bylaws, but leveraging the zoning board of appeals. I view, myself, at least, as an appointed member from the select board, not voted on by the residents, and just don't think it's appropriate for us to sort of take a position on any bylaw that's presented by the planning board.
Okay, thank you.
That's
Anyone else?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may.
Susie had her hand up first.
Oh, go ahead, Susie.
Sorry again, Brad. Beat you to it.
No problem.
I agree. I mean, we were invited to go to the planning board meeting and we did get to voice our opinion there. So I agree with Paul saying, I do love annual town meeting and I love listening to everybody and everybody's different questions and the vote that takes place there. So I just wanted to say I agree with Paul, even though I don't know if I'd be able to vote on this tonight or not. Anyways, if Jeff and I would be able to vote, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. So anyone else have anything to say about this? Jeff?
I'll just reiterate what Suzanne and also Paul said so eloquently. I agree. I think it's our duty on the ZBA to make decisions based on what the zoning is. And then if we go to the town meeting or we want to go to hearings, then we can bring our personal opinions.
Okay, thanks. Paul? Paul, do you have a hand up?
Nope, sorry.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so again, I agree with what Jeff, Susie, and Paul said, but I'm just want to say I'm getting sick and tired of every year going through the use variance thing. It comes up every single year, and every single year it doesn't pass. And I mean, it's just really frustrating because it's rarely used, and when it has been used, I think it's worked. And so just to strip that away from our zoning bylaws, I think is inappropriate. And the residents of the town of Northborough have spoken over the past few years. So I just don't understand why this keeps coming up every single year.
Okay, thanks. Now, I only put this item on the agenda because the planning board asked us to have a joint meeting, and we did have it on the proposed zoning bylaws. And they've changed substantially. I don't know if you've read them all, but I've read them, and there's a lot of things that we commented on at the joint meeting that have been eliminated from them. And there's been some changes that they've made. So I just wanted everybody to have the opportunity to speak. I don't care whether we vote or don't vote or how we handle this, but I just wanted the board to have the opportunity to discuss it. So Fran, you have your hand up?
So just real quick, because we do use these more often than the average person, and so we do have a better understanding of what the impact of them would mean, I think it is important as individuals to read them, understand the changes and the consequences of some of those changes, and speak as individuals then at town meeting, either in favor of or opposed to them, because there are several. I don't understand why we're never going to allow signs on roofs. I mean, Sammy's is a bad example, right? I don't understand why. There's a couple that just don't make sense to me. And I guess I will ask that question for clarification at town meeting and the public hearing. But for our board, just so you know, because I do feel passionate about some of the changes that are being asked. In 2021, we had 13 applications, only one use variance. In 2020, we had 17 applications, only one use variance. In 2019, there were 12 applications, only one use variance. In 18, there were 3 use variances. That was pretty big. And for some of those use variances mattered a lot to the individuals. Mm-hmm. And the only way that we could grant them relief from the zoning bylaws that would have otherwise prevented them from doing something would be taken away. And it would put them into a process that could take a year to 18 months. And so I would really ask everyone to look at these, and we are better informed and better educated than the average citizen on these. And we do have some responsibility to speak, again, either for or in opposition of them when they come to town meeting. That's all.
Thanks, Fran.
Thanks, Fran.
Any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none. And that last item on the agenda is the minutes from our last meeting, February 22nd.
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept the minutes from the February 22nd, 22 meeting as submitted.
Second.
And Fran.
Beat you, Mark.
Brad. All right, all those in favor of accepting the minutes, Fran?
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
myself, aye. Okay, any other business to come before the board? Anyone?
Is our next meeting, are we skipping April? So our next meeting is in May?
Yes,
May 24th, I think I saw.
correct.
No,
That's correct.
okay. That's all I got. Thank you.
Is the town meeting going to be back in the auditorium, or are we doing this outdoors again? Does anyone know?
It's currently being planned for the Monday night, the fourth Monday night indoors, unless there's a determination that the COVID whatever
Mhm.
changes our minds, and then it would be done outdoors later in the week.
Gotcha. Thank
So
you.
April 25th, Fran?
Is that the last Monday
Yeah.
of the month? Yes.
Okay. Just making sure before I enter it on the calendar. Hasn't been.
Because Memorial
Right.
Day is the very, very last day this year, right?
Hey, Dick, it's
Yep.
my understanding the Board of Selectmen are going to make that determination on Monday night at their meeting on March 28th.
Okay, great, thank you. Any other? Your motion to adjourn?
I motion we conclude the meeting and adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Okay, Mark made the motion, Brad seconded. All those in favor? Mark,
Aye.
Fran,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.